And good afternoon, good morning, good evening, whatever time it may be in your neck of the woods. My name is Woody Collins, and I'm with Congo Helping Hands, and I am here to talk about Congo. So this is another episode of talking about Congo, and today I am going to kind of give you a brief summary of my trip to Kinshasa. On I left on Friday and arrived here on Saturday, and then what's coming up next. So let's get busy. Number one is I left on Friday about 2:30 uh, p.m. Took off from Indianapolis Airport, and we flew to Dulles. We arrived in Dulles about 30 minutes or more late, and so that kind of put the stress on things because I had a flight. However, that flight to from Dallas to Brussels was about another hour late because it was a snafu. I guess some new paperwork came out as far as COVID, so I blame it on COVID. They decided that we needed to have documents checked to make sure that you had the documents that you needed when you entered both uh, Belgium and the Congo. So it threw everybody for a loop because we thought we could just jump on the plane and they had other things. So we left a little late. So as the pilot said, we're going to make up some time. Well, we didn't make up any time. We got into Brussels about 9 o'clock versus about seven something. So we didn't make up any time. And then there was more COVID uh, stuff to do, partly COVID and partly uh, just normal routine in Brussels. We had to go stand in line. It took me 3 hours to get through that line to get my document stamped and a new boarding pass. But I did have time enough to go up to the lounge a little while and have a time to relax and to catch up on some things. And then finally, we took off, and we took off late again. Uh, it just was normal late. We were supposed to take off at 3:45, and I think it was a little after 4 when we took off. So we didn't make up any time again. And so instead of arriving last night at 10:50, we arrived in Kinshasa about 10 minutes after 10. So it's only 20 minutes late. Then the fun started. And I say fun started. As you got off the plane, you had to have your temperature checked, and they wrote your temperature down on a sheet of paper, and whether you were male or female, and gave it to you. And then you headed off on the bus to take you to the terminal. Uh, no walkways or nothing like that. It's all open, so you caught the bus and you went around to another building. You walked into that building, and it's a new temporary building. You got in the temporary building, and with the paper that you had, and they made sure that you had the paperwork, that you did not slip by getting your temperature checked. And so once you got into that building, they say fill the paper out. Well, if they'd have gave it to us on the 8 hour plane ride, we could have had that paperwork filled out long in advance, but they did not do that. They only handed it out once you got off the plane. So you fill the paper out, and what that paper was a form to identify yourself and to say where you've been, whether you've been sick, and then you had to sign it. And then they actually went to the and looked at your documents. Number one, you had to have a COVID-19 PRC test within the last 72 hours. Uh, and then you also had to have paid registration fee to get another COVID test, PRC test. So I had paid my registration, so I had a QR code, and so the guy scans the QR code, gave the guy across the desk from him another piece of paper, and then we stood in line and waited till he could print off your barcode. Barcode was put on your paper, and then that barcode, another uh, copy of that barcode was taken that you took into the next room where there was about 10 nurses, and they were sitting there waiting for you to come through. And so they told you to have a seat, sit down, pull your mask down, and they, you know, gave you a PRC test again. This one was kind of a deep nasal one versus the one that I had in Indianapolis on Thursday. It was kind of like a mid nasal, so it didn't go all that far back. But this one went quite a far different back to the point that it started tickling you a little bit. Yeah, once you got your that PRC test and they put it in there, put the barcode on it, and you went off to do your normal in processing, meaning say you go present your passport, visa, tell them where you're going to be staying, blah, blah, blah. Then you go, once you're released from there, you go in and get your, uh, present your yellow fever certificate. And then you finally go to the point where you're actually waiting on your luggage. And somehow my luggage should have been some of the first ones out because of the priority that they put a red slip on the luggage, but for some reason it didn't come out to the second to third of the load of luggage. And so I waited and waited. And so by the time we left out of there, we had to look at, they wanted to open up some bags, and we finally got that cleared up and we left. So the curfew was already started. Curfew starts at 10 o'clock. So I had to have my boarding pass and gave it to the driver. And every maybe half a mile or three-quarters of a mile, maybe a mile, you would be presented with a roadblock. So you had to show your your pass, my boarding pass, to them and tell them that I was on the way from the airport. This went on for another probably, I would say, almost hour and a half because I didn't get here to the place I'm staying in PH until 3 o'clock in the morning. So that was a long, long day of almost, I haven't counted it up, but I'm sure it was closer from the time I left my house in Indianapolis to the time I was here to go to bed. Probably was closer to 32 hours. But I did sleep on the plane, took some naps, getting ready now to go to bed because in less than 4 hours, I'm going to be getting up to catch another plane to go to Lodja, which is in the interior. This will be a short flight. It should be much less hassle. And I will get there and then probably do some prep work. And then tomorrow, hopefully, we'll go out and start working on some water wells, getting those drilled wherever they're in the phase of water well installation. They may have already bored the hole. We may be installing the housing to for the tanks or something. So we'll see what that is all about probably on Tuesday. But tomorrow will be travel, get everything settled, do some prep work so that we can leave and go out to the real field uh, and do some work on some water wells in a village. So that's what has been happening to me. Hope to be able to broadcast tomorrow and kind of give you an update of the final leg and what we plan to do. But in the meantime, take care of yourself, take care of your family. Also, let's get this pandemic under the control by washing your hands, by social distancing yourself, and wearing your mask, and get the vaccine if at all possible. Uh, I tell you, over the last on the in the airports, there was not a lot of social distancing. Most people were wearing their masks to the best of their ability, and but it was really uh, no social distancing. It was just a madhouse. So anyway, thank you all, and we will talk with you tomorrow. This is Woody Collins with Congo Helping Hands, and this has been another episode of Talking about the Congo. Take care now.